Thank you. Chapter 12. After school on Monday, Ben sits at home in front of the computer. The notes for his geography report are scattered all over the desk. Printouts about the Sonoran Desert, pictures of saguaro cactuses with mountains in the distance, maps of southern Arizona. So why can't he start writing his report? Thinking about the desert makes him think about lizards. Thinking about lizards makes him think about Lenny. Thinking about Lenny makes him think about Toby. He rummages through the pictures of the desert and stops at one he almost forgotten. The heading says, Couch's Spadefoot. It looks like Miss Tibbetts' Spadefoot's, except it has yellowish spots all over its back instead of 2 stripes. Weird that there are Spadefoots in the desert too, he thinks. He reads the text under the drawing. There's no mention of being endangered or threatened. I guess the Spadefoots haven't lost as much habitat down there, Ben says to himself. He wonders why Miss Tibbetts isn't making more of an effort to stop the land from being sold. The adult world is like a big wall, Ben thinks. You can't see through it. You can't get over it. How is a kid supposed to understand what they're doing on the other side? He types Massachusetts Spadefoot vernal pools into the computer and looks at the search page. More than 800 listings come up. Some of them look pretty technical, but he clicks on about a dozen of them. Every time he sees the word Spadefoot, his heart leaps. This is his word. These are his Spadefoots. He finds a page for kids. My volume on? Can you guys hear me? Okay, sorry. These are his Spadefoots. He finds a page for kids that teaches about Spadefoots and salamanders and vernal pools. He prints out a color photograph of an eastern Spadefoot, but none of this is what he's looking for. Then he comes across a reference to the Massachusetts Fishery and Wildlife, Natural Heritage, and Endangered Species Programs. It's an article about saving vernal pools. He tries to read through it, but it's too full of scientific details and difficult words. He's about to try another listing when he spots something halfway down the last page. It's a place to send questions or comments. Ben stares at it a minute. Then he types, I need help. There's a vernal pool with Spadefoots in it near my house. The land is being sold and there is no place for toads to go. How can I save them? He puts his name in the box at the bottom, then adds his phone number. He doesn't believe anyone will answer him. He's just a kid. But so what, he thinks. They won't know it's from a kid. Just as he hits send, his mother comes into the room. What are you doing? Nothing. I'm trying to find out about vernal pools. What are they? They're places where toads live, like on Miss Tibbetts' land. Ben, shouldn't you be finishing your desert report? I know. You take care of your homework, all right? Let Miss Tibbetts take care of her toads. Ben looks back at his computer screen, and she finally leaves. He glances at the printer and pulls out the sheet of paper. The Spadefoots in the photograph stares out at him. He can almost hear its calling. Here it is, Ben says, showing the picture in the book to Ryan and Jenny. Here's the Spadefoot. Ryan bends over the page for a close look. It's just a regular-looking old toad. It's kind of cute, though, Jenny says, in a toad-like kind of way. I know, they look regular, but there are hardly any left around here. Ben closes his book. It was really cool to see them. There were all these toads in the pond swimming around, and they were all calling out. And Miss Tibbetts and I were laughing about the overtoad. The overtoad? Ryan blurts out. What's that? A huge toad with superpowers that looks after all the Spadefoots. Is there really a big toad like that? Ryan asks, hopping back and forth from one foot to the other. No, you dummy, Jenny says. It's just a story. Yeah, but it sounded like it was there. I wish it was, said Ben. We could use the overtoad even here at school. He hands the book back to Ryan. It's almost time for school to start. Here, he says. You can take it back. Thanks. It was cool to look at. Did you see the blue poison dart frog? Ryan asked. His eye that's not covering is dancing with excitement, as jumpy as the rest of him. Yeah, I did. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I did. And the one that looks like a leaf. Yeah. And the one that has circles on its rear end that look like big eyes. Yeah, Ben says. Like 2 cross eyes. They were so funny. He crosses his eyes, trying to look crazy. Suddenly, a shadow of hurt passes over Ryan's face. Jenny gives Ben a look, letting him know he's made a big mistake. Thanks for giving the book back, Ryan says and turns away. Oh, Ryan, I wasn't making fun of you. I can't help it about my eye, Ryan says angrily. I can't help it. Come on, Ryan. I don't care about your eye. I did it. I know you don't care, Ryan mutters. I meant. Everyone to your seat, says Miss Kutcher, rapping on her desk with a pencil. Time to get started. Jenny sits down and turns to look at Ben. I know you didn't mean it. Ben rolls his eyes. I'm an idiot. No, she says, you're not an idiot. You are a little weird sometimes, but being weird is much better than being an idiot. Ben shrugs. Yeah, but what if you're an idiot who's weird too? Now that's a problem, Jenny says. You might as well give up right now. Nothing worse than being a weird idiot. I know, Ben nods. I know. Ben watches Ryan all through the morning, but Ryan avoids his gaze. At lunch, Ben sits next to him, hoping to get him to smile. But Ryan just keeps his head down and doesn't say a word. After a few minutes, Frankie plops down across from them and promptly starts stealing French fries off the other kids' plates. He stuffs the fries into his mouth, seeing how many he can get in at once. The boys around him gawk. If it wasn't Frankie's way of showing off, Ben thinks, it might actually be funny. But even Frankie's French fry packed mouth doesn't make Ryan smile. When Frankie sees that neither Ryan nor Ben is laughing, he opens his mouth so everyone can see the mashed up French fries. A few soggy bits spill out on the table. Dennis Domino, Danny Martin, and Tommy Miller are laughing their heads off. Frankie chews and swallows the huge lump of mushy potatoes, then looks at Ben and Ryan. Ben can see him trying to think of something to say. What's wrong with you, Captain Kidd? Frankie finally says to Ryan. Lay off him, Ben says. Oh, excuse me, Frankie sneers. He glances at other boys for support. I didn't know you were Captain Kidd's... I didn't know you were Captain Kidd bodyguard. Why don't you go chase frogs or something with Miss Ribbits? Everyone at the table looks at Ben, waiting to see what he'll say. Frankie keeps going. Miss Tibbetts, Miss Ribbits, Ribbits, Tibbetts, Ribbits, Tibbetts. He starts making frog noises. Kids are laughing again. Shut up, Frankie, Jenny shouts from the other end of the table. What do you care? She's nothing but a dumb old science teacher. Ben can't stand it anymore. She's not dumb. She knows a lot of things. Yeah, she knows she's the worst teacher in the school. She's smart. Ben knows he's letting Frankie get to him. And she's cool. Now, even Ryan is looking at him like he's lost it. Who would ever call an old science teacher cool? But Ben can't stop himself. You should see her yard and the woods on her property. And she's got all sorts of cool things around her house. What? Frankie jeers. Lots of flies for frogs to eat? No, stupid. Animals. Like snakes. Rattlesnakes. I've seen them. Right. Frankie rolls his eyes. Rattlesnakes. Fat chance. What kind of old woman has rattlesnakes? Everyone at the table has stopped talking. All eyes are on Ben. He takes a quick look at Jenny. Her eyes are open wide. She can't believe what she's hearing. He wishes he hadn't said anything, but he can't back down now. It's true. She's had 2 of them in a cage. She showed them to me. That isn't exactly what happened, but he's sick of Frankie making fun of everything everyone says. He wants to prove a point about how great Miss Tibbetts is and how real the rattlesnakes are. Liar, Frankie says. I am not. Liar. Frankie snarls again. The word hits Ben hard. He stands up. I swear it's true. Suddenly, Ryan stands up. It's true. He told me he saw them. Ben is stunned. He's never said anything to Ryan about the rattlesnakes. He looks over, trying to figure out what's going on, but Ryan is staring hard at Frankie through his crazy glasses. Frankie's mouth opens like he's going to say something, but then it shuts again. Really? Danny asks. Yeah, really, Ben says. Danny looks convinced. And she let me see them, Ben insists. But they got away, and now they're out on her property. He has no idea where the snakes are now. Miss Tibbetts hadn't expected them to survive. But maybe they would. Maybe they're still alive. No way, Frankie says. But this time, his heart isn't in it. He looks around for support, but everyone's listening to Ben now. Uh-huh, it's true, Ryan is shouting. It's true. Oh, who even cares about Miss Ribbits? Frankie says. He makes a face like this is all stupid, and he doesn't care. Can you picture that facial expression when someone looks at you and you're like, so stupid? No? Not only that, Ryan goes on, the overtold will eat you up if you don't believe it. No one except Ben and Jenny has any idea what Ryan is talking about. And then Jenny starts to laugh. Ben has to laugh too when he sees his bewildered look on Frankie's face. Frankie starts to stare down at his plate. For once, he can't think of anything to say. Ben looks at Ryan, and Ryan gives him a huge smile. When they head back to class, Ben catches up with Ryan and whispers in a dark, sinister voice. Better look out for the overtoad. Overtoad. Overtoad, Ryan chants. Better look out for the overtoad. Can you say that in a dark, sinister voice? No, it's like a dark, sinister voice would be like when it's like very creepy, like, you better watch out for the overtoad. Like if you were telling like a ghost story. You know what I'm saying? Like a dark, sinister voice. Anyone want to try it? No one? No? All right. Now I lost my spot. Oh, Ben slips on his jacket and opens the back door. Where are you headed? His mother asks. Just to walk out back, he says. I want to come too, Agatha says. Sorry, Ben says. I need to go alone. Mom, Agatha whines. Tell Ben to let me go with him. Miss Maroney narrows her eyes and studies Ben's face. Let your brother go by himself this time, she says to Agatha. Anyway, you have some work to do in your room. But, Mom... You heard what I said, Agatha. Keep an eye... Agatha. And Ben, keep an eye on time... And Ben, keep an eye on the time. Ben remembers all the times she has said that to him and went to the garage in Tucson, headed to the dry river bed. He's not in Tucson anymore, but for just a moment, it feels the same. The sun is shining, and in a minute, Ben takes off his jacket and ties it around his waist. He walks along the trail through the marshy place he's come to know, stopping now and then to look at something that's just sprouting or to listen for new sounds. Tiny leaves the size of cat's ears are opening on some of the maple trees. He turns over a log and finds a salamander, shiny black with bright yellow spots on its back. Very carefully, he picks it up and holds it in his hand, then puts it down beside the log. You stay there, he says. He whistles to himself and follows the trail towards Miss Tibbetts' land. He pulls a folded sheet of paper out of his pocket. An official at the Natural Heritage Program actually answered his email. He opens the printout and reads it again. "Thank you for your query," it says. "A member of our staff will give it careful attention and will get back to you as soon as possible." Ben smiles and puts the paper back in his pocket. The trail widens a little, and the new leaves overhead make little shadows on the ground. He's almost to the vernal pool when he hears men talking. He stops and peers through the trees. The men are wearing orange construction helmets, and they're carrying instruments on long tripods. Someone has tied orange plastic ribbons on a couple of tree trunks. In the distance, Ben can see a truck, and he cuts toward it, stepping over fallen logs and wading through wet leaves. As he gets closer to the truck, the woods thin out, and he comes into an open space. The street that runs in front of Miss Tibbetts' house is not far away. Big white plastic tubes stick out of the ground in 3 or 4 places. Ben's hands feel sweaty. What does that mean when your hands feel sweaty? You know?
You're like nervous.
Nervous, yes, definitely. He walks up to one of the men standing by the truck. "What are you doing?" Ben asks. "Surveying," the man answers. "Looks like they're planning to put up some houses here. We're measuring the lots." "What are those plastic tubes for?" Ben asks. "They're for something that's called a perk test," the man explains, "to make sure that the water can filter down into the soil. They can only build where the soil can drain properly." Ben's heart leaps with hope. What happens if the soil can't drain? Can they still build? "Oh, no worry about that. This land is too valuable. They'll find plenty of space for the houses. About a dozen of them." A dozen houses? How much is a dozen again?
12.
Rebecca? 12. Yep. The man opens the door of the truck and takes out a thermos. Ben turns away and retraces his step back into the woods. He runs down a path and stops at the vernal pool. He can't believe it. It's half the size it was the rainy night a week and a half ago. The edges of the pool are still muddy, layered with caked black leaves, and it's drying up fast like a puddle on the sidewalk after a rainstorm. Ben squishes over its mucky edge and squats down. The water is murky, but he stays there for a minute, watching and waiting. Then he sees them. At first, he only makes out 1 or 2 dark shapes in the water, but then more come into focus. Dozens of tadpoles scurry around in the water, pumping with their hind legs, their little tails waving behind them. Spadefoot tadpoles, hundreds of them. Ben takes off toward Miss Tibbetts' house. When he sees her car in the driveway, he sprints around to the back of the house and looks through the window on the back door. Miss Tibbetts is at the kitchen sink. He knocks. When she sees him, her face breaks into a smile. "Why, hello, Ben," she says as she opens the door. "What a nice surprise. Come on in. I think I can find a little something for us to snack on." Ben takes off his muddy shoes and steps inside the kitchen. He's not hungry. His mind is filled with what he just saw and what it means. "Miss Tibbetts, I saw the Spadefoot tadpoles. There are lots of them." "Oh, I know," she says. "They're growing very quickly. They won't be in the pool very much longer. Only another week or another 2 weeks or so. And there are people out there measuring the land. They've put it in these tubes to see if they can build houses." "I know, I saw them when I came home." "But aren't you going to do something?" Ben is pacing around the kitchen, unable to sit still. How can she stand there so calmly? He wonders. "It's going to be all right," she says. "What do you mean? The toads are going to be okay?" Miss Tibbetts hesitates for a minute before speaking. "Ben, I don't expect you to understand, but I explained the problem. My sister-in-law owns the land. She's going to sell it, and the more I say about it, the worse it gets. I don't think we could prove the land is an endangered habitat anyways." "But it is. We know it is. We have to try." Miss Tibbetts has a pained look on her face. "I'm so sorry, Ben." "Did you even call the people at the state?" Ben says. "I sent them an email." Miss Tibbetts' eyes grow wide. "You did?" "Yes, and I got an answer today. Look!" He pulls out a piece of paper and he shows it to her. Well, Miss Tibbetts says, if Tabitha gets wind of this, she'll scream bloody murder. It wasn't you. I did it. Miss Tibbetts sighs. Ben, it was very nice of you to try, but this is just a form letter. They probably send these notes to everyone who writes in. But they say they'll get back to me as soon as possible. I know you want to help, but I'm afraid there's nothing anyone can do now. Even if they did respond, by the time they came out here, the pond may have dried up. You should have called them, he mutters as he turns to leave. Maybe, maybe not. Everything will work out. Miss Tibbetts calls to him. You'll see. Ben looks back at Miss Tibbetts. He can tell by her face that she doesn't believe what she's saying. She's giving up. Forget it, Ben says over his shoulder. He pulls his shoes on and stomps out the door around the garage. As he rounds the corner near the garden, something makes him look back. The empty cage is still sitting under the lean-to. He pauses for a moment, then runs back and pounds on Miss Tibbetts' doors. She pulls it open and looks back at Ben in alarm. What's wrong? She asks. What about the Timbler Rattlers? Maybe they're still out there. Wouldn't they be endangered if they're living there? Miss Tibbetts shakes her head. They're not there, Ben. But you're not sure. They could be. Maybe they survived and they found a place to live around here. Then we'd have to let them be. She shakes her head again. I'm sure they're gone. Ben knows she means they're dead. Neither of them can say the word. Dead, gone. I have to go, Ben says. He turns toward the door. All right, Ben. Thanks for coming by. I'll see you at school. Ben nods, but doesn't look at her. He opens the door and then leaves the house. He steals a glance behind him as he rounds the corner of the garage. Miss Tibbetts is standing in the door watching him. She waves. Ben heads down the path toward home. The sun is hot on his face, and he hears chickadees over his head as he passes into the woods. A blue jay brays out overhead, warning everything around that Ben is coming through. Little green shoots are coming up beside the path. How can it be so beautiful on such a rotten day? All right. What page are we on? We can't do the questions quite yet. Okay, I gotta move my computer over.
Page 22.
Okay.
That or page 19.
But yeah, we can't do page 19 yet because we're not quite there. So, all right. We did the stories right last time. Did anyone want to share their story from the Overtone?